I lost it. I lost it. Damn it. Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. We're out for the fourth and last weekend of the February challenge. As you can see, the sun's out. It's incredibly mild this morning. It was 9 degrees Celsius when I left the house, which, yeah, compared to last week is quite a change. We had 6 inches of snow here just 2 days ago, so it's been a very strange winter for weather here. It probably looks like it's snow all the time here, going from my Instagram and YouTube lately, but I've probably been out on the 3 or 4 days that we've actually had some snow. Even last weekend with all that snow that we had, it was gone by the Monday morning. So, but yeah, I just wanted to say a quick thanks to everyone who has shown support for this YouTube series and on Instagram lately. I really appreciate that. Some really nice comments and feedback too, which makes it feel all a bit more worthwhile. But if you're not familiar with the challenge, or you haven't watched the previous videos, I basically set myself a challenge to get out and have an overnight on all 4 weekends of February. Yeah, I've struggled for motivation to get out in recent months. I have. So by creating this challenge, it was to push me mentally more than physically. Before I risk turning this into an hour-long video, we are in South Loch Ness this weekend. It's a forest that's quite local to me. A lot of my content has taken place in this forest. It's only maybe 20 minutes away from where I live. It's quite a standard commercial forest for this area, but there are some nice bits hidden away inside which I've managed to find, and this is my sort of little local hideaway, you could call it. But we're going to go with a tarp and ground setup this week. I'm going to do a few, I guess you could call them bushcraft type projects. I won't list them, so then you can't hold them against me when I fail them. But yeah, I've bought a ridiculous amount of heavy gear in with me. I didn't have far to walk, but it's just going to be quite a straightforward, comfortable camp. That's the plan, just to finish off the challenge. And I feel like we've come full circle from the previous 3 locations, and I'll explain a bit more about that at the end of the video. But while the sun's shining, let's get going and get set up and see how we get on.
Get the ball in.
So the current plan is to have an A-frame shelter with the tarp between this pine and one of these small birches over here. I would like to have a spruce bough bed, but I'll have a look around. I'm not sure I'll be able to access enough spruce boughs for that. Gonna create a bit of a fireplace here, using some rocks just to keep the fire off the ground. I'm hoping to get the fire going using bow drill. In terms of a nest to get things going, again at this time of year in here it's not the easiest, but maybe with some of this really dry lichen that's on the branches and a few fine curls of wood, might be able to get something going. Right, we'll start with the shelter and see if I can find some spruce boughs. So I'm maybe 150 metres from my camp spot, and I found this patch of spruce regen. I think I might be able to get enough out of it. I would have preferred sort of bigger, longer spruce boughs, but there's not really anything else accessible, to be honest. This is Sitka spruce regen. It's a non-native species. It's the UK's #1 timber species, but it originates from northwest America, and it regenerates very aggressively. And this part of the forest is actually supposed to be managed as a pine wood, so by me removing some of these, I'm actually doing some good. So yeah, don't think that I'm just destroying trees unnecessarily. But yeah, we'll see how we get on with this and see how much we can gather, and we'll take it back to the camp spot. The joys of working with Sitka spruce. I'm just going to make 4 basic pegs for the shelter. So if you've ever seen a spruce, the branches sit a certain way, they tend to flex up the way. So what you want to do is have them facing down, like upside down, and also put the ends, sort of knit the ends in so they're not sticking out. So then they all knit together and they create quite a bit of loft. I'm going to have the wool blanket to sit over this, just so just protect the sleeping bag a little bit more than anything, because I don't have a bivy bag or anything. It's just sleeping bag straight up top. Wow, that is comfortable. Whoa. Yeah, this will do for a night. Okay, I'm gonna get a small fire going now for lunch because it's 12:30 and I'm hungry after all that, but the bulk of the shelter is up. I'm going to put just a load of branches and stuff at the back here, I think, just to enclose it a little bit. And yeah, I'll get the dog stuff and everything set up afterwards. But yeah, we'll get a small fire going now and boil some water. So that's lunch finished. I'm going to finish setting up inside. I've got the dog bed to put in, my sleeping bag. I'm not hardcore enough to go wool blanket only. Then I've got a couple of projects I want to do this afternoon. Mainly a pot hanger set up and bow drill. So that's inside set up. Darach's just on his bed beside me. My sleeping bag and everything's in. Put a few things at the back just to enclose it a bit more. And then I've been busy collecting a load of firewood for tonight. Got a wee lantern holder set up. So now it's 3 o'clock. And I'd like to make this pot hanger quickly and then have a go at the bow drill, although I think it's going to be difficult with this wind right now. So this was the pot hanger setup I wanted to try. Didn't take too long. Just two Y branches and a cross beam. Just hammered into the ground. And then just another natural fork. And then a notch cut in. And that's the pot hanger. And then you're able to move that along to wherever you need it to. This might be tricky with the wind. This is what I'm going to use as my kind of bird's nest. This lichen is so dry. I'll see if it, well, that's if I get an ember in the first place, but hopefully I can get something with that. So like I say, this is an old set that I made when I was out before a couple of months ago. It might even be too dry now. And a spindle from that, and this bow as well. And then I use this firestone, and this is made by a guy where there's smoke on Instagram. I'll link his Instagram in the description. And this is a stone. He crafts these stones from, is it the Mekong River in Thailand? So that's it's burnt in. I'll cut the notch out now. Nope. So the horse board broke. But I might have something here. Yeah, we've got an ember. Just don't want this wind to blow it out. I'm going to move over near to the fire. I lost it. Damn it. Right, I'm going to try one more time. No. Oh well. It was fun to try. We got an ember, which I'm pleased with. But that's just the way it goes. So I actually ate most of the potatoes when the steak was cooking, but I'm gonna tuck into this now and I'll see you later on in the evening. So that's us ready for bed. The wind's been quite strong all evening, so I haven't filmed much because of the wind noise. But just chilling out by the fire. Had a little bit of Jura to wash that steak down, which was really nice. We're sheltered and cozy enough in here. The wind earlier was getting a bit too strong. Made me a little bit nervous, but I think we're in an okay spot. Had a good walk around earlier, and there's nothing obvious, at least, that's going to come down immediately around the camp. We should be okay, but we're going to call it a night there, and we will see you in the morning. Morning. Another rough night, really. The wind was pretty strong all night. Couldn't quite relax. The dog was getting a little bit stressy again, and then from sort of middle of the night through to this morning, really heavy rain with the wind as well. So, but the shelter stood up. I'm glad I made it more low profile. I'm gonna let this rain ease off a bit, which it's supposed to do, and then get up and make some breakfast.
Let's go.
Square sausage, black pudding, and a couple of bits of bacon to start with, and coffee's good to go as well. So I'm gonna tuck into this just now and just enjoy the morning. Well, that's it. We did it. February challenge is complete. Just finished breakfast. It was delicious and ridiculously indulgent. Probably ate more bacon than any normal person should. Yeah, we've done 4 weekends out in February, and when I started this challenge I wasn't really sure what to expect, and I feel like, at the risk of sounding a little bit cheesy, we've almost been on a bit of a journey. Myself, a journey with the whole YouTube thing. Like, I wanted something to kick that off and get into grips with editing and how all that works. A sort of literal journey, travelling around the Highlands, looking at different spots and going back to some of my favourite spots. But also just a bit of a mental journey for me as well. Like I said at the start of the video, I've struggled all my life with mental health issues, on and off. I've struggled recently, like a lot of us have, and as much as I love coming out, sometimes I struggle to find the motivation. Some of you are probably thinking, like, wow, look where you are, you know, what's your problem? You know, look at your life, these kind of things. But sadly, mental health doesn't work that way. if it was that simple, then I don't think mental health would really be an issue. I'm glad I've used this to push myself to get out a lot more than I probably normally would in February. And using different setups and things, it's challenged me a little bit and kept it interesting. You know, it would have been very tempting after buying the hot tent and stove last October to just do that every weekend because it's warm and comfortable. So yeah, it's been good to have a bit of a challenge that way as well. But don't get me wrong, I very much realise what a privileged position I am to be able to do this. Even just in a UK sense, you know, millions of people in the UK don't have access to this kind of thing, or not so easily anyway. For some, it's just not even possible, and that's a sad fact in itself. But yeah, to be able to sit here, and as much as I complain about the state of our countryside and, you know, the ecological issues and all that kind of thing, you know, I still get to come out here and find, you know, space and peace and quiet to get away from things. And of course, with the recent news from Eastern Europe, it's easy to take these kind of things for granted. As a society, we're so used to instant gratification now and just getting what we want when we want it. To think that, you know, you could have all that taken away overnight and be in fear for your life, that's something else, you know. Obviously that hadn't kicked off when I started this challenge. It shows you how quickly things can change in the world now, and who knows where we'll be in a month's time. I've enjoyed making these videos. I hope to continue making videos, probably not as intensely as I have, you know, every week. It's a lot, it is. You know, away for a whole weekend, working through the week, sort of trying to edit in the evenings and stuff, and then all of a sudden it's the next weekend again. So it's quite intense, but yeah, if I could continue at least one video a month, maybe two, that would be fun, I think. Thanks again to everyone who's showed support and watched the videos. Like, share, subscribe, all those things. It really helps the channel. As always, I'll have links to some of the gear that I use in the description, and other links to forest management and land management in Scotland. And if you want to stick around, I will talk a bit about this forest, why I've come back here after the previous locations, and just the state of forestry in general, I guess, in the UK. Thanks again for watching, and I don't know when, but hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Thanks as always for sticking around and listening to me ramble on a little bit about forest related things. As I said at the beginning of the video, we're in a forest at South Loch Ness, which is near to where I live. This is one of my local forests. I've spent a lot of time in here. I've got a semi-permanent camp here. And this section we're in right now is a Sitka spruce plantation. And you can tell it's Sitka spruce because if it looks like a spruce and it has these bark platelets, then it's more likely going to be Sitka spruce. And Sitka spruce is, well, it's the most common tree in the UK, but it's a non-native from Northwest America. I suppose I was going to talk a little bit about why that is. So very quickly, back after the First World War, it was recognised that the UK had very little timber resource left, and that was because of the war effort, but also decades of forest clearance before that. So it was recognised that we needed a strategic timber resource, and in 1919 the Forestry Commission was created to manage that, and their objective to begin with was to plant as much forest as they could wherever they could. And due to our oceanic climate, you know, it's cool and damp. You know, we don't get very cold here or very dry or very hot. So yeah, cool, damp climate. A lot of the Northwest American species do very well here. You know, Sitka spruce loves it here. It grows quick, and it's good for timber, you know, construction, all these things. So it's the favourite species and has been for decades. And our whole processing industry is based on, you know, this one species alone. Meant we ended up with very dark, dense geometric blocks all over the country, which I'm sure a lot of you've seen. And because they're planted so densely, and because Sitka grows so well on its own, you end up with these very dark, inhospitable forests. And if you look at the ground here, it's covered in Sitka spruce needles. Yeah, there's a little bit of moss, but not much else. You know, we're missing a whole ground layer of species. And this is the majority forest in the UK and Scotland. This is it. This is what most of our forests are, unfortunately. Even though these forests can offer more ecological value than a lot of the bare open ground we have, you know, they're still way behind a functional, you know, ecologically healthy forest. But yeah, I guess that's why I brought you here. In the previous 3 videos, I went to 3 of what are considered the best forests in the UK. And as I spoke about, you know, even though they're the best, they're still full of issues. There's still so much work to do. They're not untouched wilderness by any means. So yeah, even our best isn't that great. And then to show you that, you know, that's our best and this is our most common forest, it's, when you look at the bigger picture, it's not great. But we need timber, that's for sure. We need a timber resource. UK is still one of the biggest importers of wood in the world. I think it's still over 90% of the forest products we use are imported. So we're nowhere near being able to fulfill our own needs. So we need a lot more productive forest. And some of it like this, because there's no denying that now. The demand is there, we just can't live without it. But what we could do is have areas like this mixed in with other type of forests to create a more diverse forest that more valuable for timber, wildlife, people, everything. And through more consequence than anything, this small forest has kind of become that. We've got pockets of Norway spruce, Sitka spruce, there's pine woodland, sort of pine remnants, Scots pine sort of plantation. There's more open areas of birch, bog. And the main reason that's happened is because of the terrain. This isn't an easy area to access and harvest, so it's been left long term. Leave it long term, then you start to see the benefits of that in terms of things start to settle down and balance out, and that sort of consistency lets things come back in. And I'm probably not describing that very well, but you start to create a more functional ecosystem. And that's not to say we couldn't harvest some of these areas, but we could do it small scale and less intrusive. But the problem in the UK is always scale. I've been fortunate enough that I spent 4 months in Finland, and to sort of put the UK in perspective, every year the total forest would put on a certain amount of growth, and that's called your mean annual increment. And if you don't harvest more than that total volume, then your forest management is considered sustainable, because you're not taking more than is grown every year. Now Finland are able to, they only cut 50% of what they could every year. Within that 50%, that fulfills all their domestic needs, plus they have some to export. Whereas the UK, we can only fulfill maybe 10% of our needs at best when cutting everything we possibly can. And the difference there is that Finland has scale. It's over 80% covered in forest, so they're able to go in and select the best bits. And you add all that up and it makes it worthwhile. Whereas here we just don't have enough forest to do that, so we end up creating these large monoculture blocks of one species, grows really quick, and we fell it all, and the cycle repeats. But it's just, although that's a relatively efficient way to grow a spruce crop for timber, it doesn't really benefit much else. What we need to do now is expand our forests and keep expanding our forests. And like I say, we need a lot more areas of productive forest, but we also need to massively expand our native forest. And the productive forest needs to stay on the slightly better ground and ground that can be accessed, because that just makes sense. But for our native woodland, we've got thousands and thousands of hectares in Scotland alone of bare open hill that has been burned and overgrazed for decades. And the amount of native woodland we could create in these areas is the scale of it is hard to get your head around. There's so much potential there, but we need a cultural shift in that thinking. As I mentioned last week with Glen Feshie, that change in attitude from an old school sporting estate to an estate that's good for wildlife, people, ticking all the boxes. That's what we need. I'll probably wrap it up there, I think. But I'll just add that part of the reason I started these YouTube videos was a frustration on the general lack of knowledge of our landscape and forests, and I'm not blaming anyone. It's just a fallout of the way our society is now. It's not really taught in schools. You know, a lot of people, there's so little forest in the UK that people don't really have that forest way of life to really think about these things and what forests should be here and how they should work. But especially on social media, I see a lot of people celebrating, you know, places like the Peak District and the Lake District, saying how wild it is and how wonderful it is, and there's so much missing in these places. They're so heavily degraded. There's so much wildlife, forest missing. I struggle to look at these places now, I really do. So anyway, that was a lot of talking from me, and hopefully some of it made sense. I'm going to stop there now. But thanks again for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed the main video. And I will continue to make videos, as I say, and I will add these sections on at the end because people appear to enjoy them. I don't really have a plan at the moment for what my next video will be or when it will be, but if you hit the subscribe button, you'll get notified when it does come out. So I'll leave it there. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.